I only found out after I died that I was the heroine in a novel. I spent millions so that the male lead could stand up from his wheelchair and become high society's new star. He thought I was always using money to humiliate him and tormented me physically and mentally. In the end, I died of breast cancer, basically driven to death by anger. Right after I died, the male lead found a stand-in, had 3 kids, and kept telling everyone about his tragic loss. When I was reborn, I went back to the year I was 18. The male lead was in his wheelchair, accusing me, "You spend money on me just to humiliate me, don't you?" I kicked over his wheelchair, took my bank card, and coldly watched him writhe on the ground. "You're right. Out of respect for you, I won't give you another dime. And this high-end custom wheelchair? It doesn't suit someone as noble as you. I'm taking it back." I pushed his wheelchair and headed to the office. The boy in the wheelchair had a cold expression, his hand gripping the handle, eyes showing humiliation on the way. Many classmates greeted me. "Gina, taking care of Tom again?" I smiled and replied yes. Classmates laughed and said, "Gina, you're so good to Tom, spending money and effort. Right? Where can you find such a good girlfriend?" Hearing that, Tom's face darkened like he could drip water. It wasn't until he got the scholarship at the office that his mood improved a bit. On the way back, when no one was around, Tom stopped and angrily threw the bank card at me. "I'll never like you. Stop humiliating me. I'd rather beg than take your money." I picked up the card from the ground and scrutinized Tom for the first time. The boy in front of me was barely even good-looking. When he looked at me, his eyes were filled with undisguised disgust. "You think I'm humiliating you by giving you money?" Tom sneered. "What else? You're just trying to force me to like you. Honestly, I feel nauseous looking at your face. Even if I stay in a wheelchair forever, I don't want to be with you." At that moment, my 18-year-old heart felt a sharp pain. I took a deep breath. "You're right. Out of respect for you, I won't spend another penny on you." Tom's expression froze for a moment, then he threatened me fiercely. "Gina, you better keep your word." Ignoring his mocking glance, I turned and walked away. Wasn't he tough? Wearing designer clothes I bought, sitting in a custom wheelchair made by a foreign team. Enjoying my care while feeling humiliated. I called the housekeeper. Canceled Tom and his sister's cards and kicked them out of my house. After I got back, I had nightmares for 3 days straight. All about my sick and emaciated self at the end. Yes, I've been reborn. After dying last time, I realized I was the early dead heroine in a novel. The first time I met Tom, he was working at a bar, beaten almost to death by drunken patrons. And I fell in love with him at first sight. Starting a long poverty relief journey, I hired a medical team from abroad with my family's resources. After spending millions, Tom finally stood up again. I even donated a kidney to Tom's sister Wendy. To prove my love for Tom, I provided the best resources for them. As Tom had mobility issues, I bought him a large apartment near the school. Also, I anonymously sent him $10,000 every month. At school, I tirelessly pushed his wheelchair every day, enduring his sarcastic remarks. Believing it was temporary, that he'd recognize my kindness one day. When Tom didn't get into a good college, I gave up my studies to go to a vocational college with him. After graduation, I sent him abroad and funded his company. With my relentless support, Tom finally became a tech mogul with a successful career. But his first words when he returned were, "Gina, I endured your humiliation for so many years, and I made it." Then he started tormenting me physically and mentally exhausted. I got breast cancer, and Tom proposed. "It's just cancer, right? I'll marry you. Don't guilt-trip me." After marriage, he got involved with Wendy. Eventually, he even had my brother killed and took over my family's company. I died alone from the disease. It wasn't until after my death that Tom realized he had feelings for me. While crying bitterly at my grave, he spent my family's money lavishly. And even found a girl who looked like me as a stand-in. Had 3 kids with her. And kept telling people he missed his true love. Blaming it all on Gina not respecting him, causing them to miss out. In this new life, I totally want to dump this leeching male lead. Whoever wants to be the heroine, go ahead. I did the math and realized I was spending nearly $10,000 monthly on Tom. Most of it on medical expenses, plus regular support and living costs. Stop. It all stops. As a rich girl, I was pinching pennies to give money to an ungrateful brat. I must have been cursed in my past life. I can't even imagine how great it would be to spend all that money on myself. The tutor called me, saying Tom wasn't home. He'd been kicked out by me. The tutor is no longer needed. We'll pay you for the contracted period. The tutor gleefully hung up. Tom's legs were at a crucial treatment stage, often needing to take time off. His mood was unpredictable, and he'd throw a tantrum if he didn't understand a class. To please him, I hired a straight-A tutor at a high salary. Probably because the tutor coddled him. Tom would skip school whenever he was unhappy, knowing the tutor would cover for him and pamper him. Unlike school teachers, who just saw him as a hindrance. Why didn't I realize he was so selfish before? The hospital's director also called. Gina, it's time for a checkup. Is tomorrow convenient? Should we go to school to get Tom, like usual? To protect Tom's pride, every time I took him to the hospital, I made sure they sent a luxury car to pick him up from school. He would only agree to go when a crowd fawned over him. Remembering the look he always gave me at the hospital, I quickly declined. No need. Don't bother contacting the German team. For the upcoming treatment plans, coordinate with Tom directly. I'm done paying. The head of the hospital sounded very surprised over the phone. But the German team cost you millions to arrange. You've already paid fully for Tom's future treatments. Didn't you always instruct us to use the best treatment team to cure Tom's leg as soon as possible? Donate the remaining treatment money to those seriously ill children we treated before. From now on, Tom's treatment has nothing to do with me. If he wants to get treated, fine. If not, that's his call. I hung up the phone and lay in my spacious apartment, looking at the stunning night view through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Without me, what kind of young master is Tom? This has been my most joyful weekend since I was reborn. Humming a little tune, I returned to school and passed by the dormitory building. An auntie was scolding Tom. Her voice was so loud that I could hear her clearly from across the street. In all my years working here, I've never seen a student as unsanitary as you. You've only been here for a few days, you don't take out the trash, don't clean your room, and you've already had 3 or 4 roommates complain about you. Now no one wants to share a room with you. Tom looked annoyed. I'm physically disabled. I can't handle these things. They're the ones who aren't accommodating me. The dorm mates around started snickering, and a few even spoke out against him. Not accommodating you? We gave you the most convenient lower bunk, brought meals back from the cafeteria, and you still won't clean up the trash on your bed. You would always complain about the food, and you never paid us back. Yeah. You used my shower gel and toilet paper, and you didn't flush after using the bathroom. Who wants to share a room with you? They were furious. You're just a poor kid on a scholarship, acting like some young master. We owe you nothing. I stood in the crowd, happily munching on a lollipop, enjoying the show. Tom's face looked grim, but he immediately locked eyes on me. I wasn't going to take the blame for this. I grew up drinking plain water and eating regular cafeteria food. But ever since I started sponsoring Tom, he became increasingly dissatisfied. Using a regular toilet? He said I was humiliating him. So I pampered him like a young master, installing a $20,000 fully automatic toilet for him. I even hired people to take care of his daily life, fearing he might think I wasn't doing enough. Tom wheeled himself over to me, glaring with a dead fish expression. Gina, are you satisfied now? Don't you just want to see me suffer so I'd accept your money and favors? He lifted his chin and rolled his eyes at me. Just as you wish. I'm moving back to that house outside school tonight. Have someone tidy it up. Wendy's birthday is next week, and she wants a specific bag and a party for about 500 people. You arrange it. Tom looked at me like I was a dog. His eyes were full of mockery and disdain, as if saying, "Here's your chance to spend money to please me. Cherish it." I was stunned. How could someone be so shameless? I struggled to maintain my composure. "Tom, get a grip. You're shamelessly demanding money from me like this?" I said I wouldn't spend another cent on you. You think I'm humiliating you? Fine, live in your dorm and eat at the cafeteria. Don't forget to pay back the others. Tom's frown deepened as if he could crush a fly. He felt I was disrespecting him and yelled loudly at me. "Gina, what kind of game are you playing? Aren't you just trying to attract my attention so I'd like you? Well, I'll tell you now, I'll never like a venomous, heartless woman like you. It's just a few bucks. The truly valuable things can't be bought with money." I sneered. "Sure, you're right. This wheelchair you're sitting in costs 10 grand. Your sister Wendy took several of my luxury bags, right? Return them to me. After all, they're bought with money, unworthy of someone as high class as you." Tom's frown tightened even more, and he braced himself to stand using a tree by the roadside. He shoved the wheelchair at me. "Take it back." I cheerfully caught it. "Great, this wheelchair is a limited edition. People lining up to buy it might stretch from here to France. Selling it for 15 grand isn't an issue." The crowd burst into laughter, and Tom glared at me. At that moment, a girl rushed out and shielded Tom. "Gina, do you have to bully Tom like this?" The girl in a white dress had tears streaming down her face, trembling all over, clenching her fists tightly. "We're struggling so hard to live. Gina, we're not beneath you just because we're poor. Why do you have to treat Tom this way in public? Is it because you can't get him so you want to ruin him? In this kind of moral blackmail quarrel, never try to justify yourself. Attack directly. How am I treating you? That dress and bag of yours are from my closet, right? Pay me back." Wendy wanted to argue more, but Tom stopped her, his black eyes glaring at me. "Gina, don't regret this." Wendy added reluctantly, "Tom, it's because of Gina that the hospital won't treat us anymore. What if your leg gets worse?" Wendy put on a pitiful act, trying to gain sympathy from the crowd and blame me. But everyone was tired of moral blackmail. A schoolmate who couldn't stand it any longer spoke up for me. "Come on, who doesn't know this is Gina's family hospital? If they don't want to treat you, change hospitals. You look down on them but still want their help?" Such nerve. Tom could no longer stay. He gave me a deep look before leaving. I shot him a provocative glance in return. That night, Wendy started sending me long messages, full of criticism aimed at me. "Tom's mad. Gina, aren't you afraid Tom will hate you?" "Doesn't matter, I hate him more. Lots of girls like Tom, you're nothing special. If you know what's good for you, suck up to Tom, or he'll treat you like a stranger." I wish he would. Not bothering to read more, I blocked both of them. Tom and Wendy aren't blood siblings. In a past life, their relationship was already quite ambiguous. Tom enjoys the admiration and efforts of others, while Wendy is vain. She knew full well how much my liking Tom would benefit her. Tom's indifference towards me emboldened her. They're both leeches. After finishing my delightful afternoon tea, the hospital called Methy said Wendy and Tom were causing trouble in the lobby. Afraid I still had feelings for Tom, they didn't know how to handle it. Suppressing my anger, I rushed over. Tom was blocking the door to the treatment room, repeatedly asking why they stopped his treatment. The nurse on duty kept explaining. "Mr. Tom, your previous treatment plan was personally overseen by Ms. Gina. Now, she has asked you to make arrangements yourself. The plan was quite costly, and as a private hospital, we need full payment before continuing." Mentioning money, Tom went silent. Wendy shouted, "What kind of angels are you? You're purposely delaying my brother's treatment." They were blocking the door, preventing other patients from receiving care. The nurse looked at me like I was her savior. I sighed, she really had a tough job. Tom sat in a beat-up wheelchair, looking smug like he knew I was just being petty. For once, he softened his tone. "Gina, pay for the rest of my treatment, and I'll forgive your past behavior. I'll even let you be close to me like before." What nerve! With a blank face, I called security to escort them out. Wendy stared at me in disbelief because the hospital usually catered to them. "Gina. You're so selfish and heartless, my brother will never like you." Tom was also stunned, feeling that he had already given me a way out. "Don't come causing trouble at the hospital again, or I'll call the police next time." They left begrudgingly. As they walked out, Wendy's hateful look gave me an uneasy feeling. Sure enough, the next day, Wendy put me in the spotlight. She started a live stream, waving her ID, accusing me of fraud. Gina bullied us in school and now refuses to provide us with treatment. That money was donated by society, how could she keep it for herself? In the stream, Wendy, dolled up to perfection, cried dramatically. Because she thought the treatment was too expensive, Gina kicked us out of the hospital. My brother's crippled leg and my illness can't wait. Public opinion in the live stream was overwhelmingly on her side. Everyone was consoling Wendy. Many netizens even began cyberbullying me and my family. So rich, but so heartless. Yeah, she won't even save the siblings' lives and a single watch could cover it. A flood of messages and calls swamped my phone. From insults to demands for me to pay for Tom and Wendy. Wendy gleefully raked in sympathy donations every night from her live streams. When I met her at the cafe we agreed on, she was wearing a Chanel outfit. "Gina, how's getting cyberbullied feel? That's what you get for being ungrateful. Just continue funding Tom and me, pay for our VIP treatment, and buy us each a house near the school, and I'll consider making my fans back off." She looked so smug. I quietly put away my recording pen. Get ready for a lawsuit. Exhausted, I returned home to find Jack, who was usually busy abroad with business, had come back. Jack, dressed sharply, was wearing an apron, making my favorite ribs in the kitchen. His gentle, handsome face was just as I remembered. "Gina, you're back. Rest up and get ready for dinner." Tears welled up in my eyes. After our parents died in a car crash, Jack supported the company by himself. In the past, I ignored all his advice because of my infatuation with Tom. I blindly devoted myself to Tom, ultimately causing Jack's death. At dinner, I fought back tears and gave Jack the recording and other evidence I had prepared. Jack stroked my head, full of concern. "My dear sister, you've been through so much. Don't worry, I'll handle it." The next day, Jack issued a statement and lawsuit notice on behalf of Gina's company. He detailed the donation agreement and expenses over the years. Tom even owned a house but refused to sell it for treatment. The money Gina's family provided could nearly buy a house in the city center. As soon as the statement was released, I got a call from Wendy. "Gina, you bitch." I hung up and blocked her. In today's social media age, public opinion shifts quickly. With Gina's family backing, doctors, nurses, and classmates spoke out in my defense. Those who had cyberbullied me now turned against Wendy. They dug up records of Wendy's luxury purchases, seeing her as ungrateful and manipulative, demanding she return the money. Passing Tom's classroom on my way to the bathroom, he saw me. He threw everything off his desk, making the noisy classroom fall silent. The bell rang, but no one helped him. I used to run to Tom's classroom often. To get his classmates to look after him, I frequently treated them to meals and drinks. Without benefits, who wants to deal with trouble? Tom's face turned very sour. After class, Wendy waited for me outside wearing a baseball cap and mask. "I was just joking with you. Why did you report me?" I didn't find it funny. Wendy never took me seriously. She had the same peculiar confidence as Tom. She seemed convinced that being weak allowed her to control me. "Tom said if you drop the charges, we won't hold a grudge against you." It took all my restraint not to roll my eyes. Just as I was about to walk around her and head home, Wendy tried to look like she had me cornered. She pulled me aside and whispered mysteriously in my ear. "No one pushed Tom to the bathroom, so he accidentally wet his pants. There are so many girls who like Tom, and I haven't told any of them, just you. Isn't that good enough? I even changed Tom's clothes myself. I couldn't hold back anymore and rolled my eyes big time. Would you take this kind of compensation? Ridiculous. Get out of my way and expect a lawyer's letter. I turned to leave, and at the stairs, I bumped into Tom, who had a complicated look on his face. He was holding some tissue, probably for me. There's a restroom for people with disabilities, but you always need someone to help you. Seriously, pathetic. As I walked past him, I pinched my nose. What a useless sense of pride after Jack came back this time. He said he wanted to stay in the country for a while to be with me. I knew he wanted to do the same thing as in the previous life. He was ready to move the family business's core operations to China for me. He always felt guilty for not spending enough time with me. He tried everything to make it up to me. Endless allowances, the latest dresses, and bags. During this period, Jack mostly worked from home. He cooked for me every day and baked cakes. In his eyes, I've always been a kid who never grew up. He tried to talk me out of liking Tom with well-meaning advice. My Gina is growing up, starting to like boys, it's normal. But I don't approve of Tom. He isn't honest. You don't see it, but I do. He enjoys your attention while also trying to belittle you. You and he grew up in completely different worlds. I know you're kind, but some people don't deserve it. I want you to stay a princess, not turn into someone's servant. Do you understand? Tom is like a parasite, feeding off your admiration when you're no longer useful. He'll blame you for everything that goes wrong. In the past, I didn't listen. And after Tom returned to the country, he hit me. Jack had a car accident while rushing to see me. Luckily, it's not too late now. Watching Jack's room light stay on late into the night, his eyes bloodshot. During lunch, I took the initiative to tell Jack at the table that I wanted to study abroad. Brother, I don't plan to attend a domestic university. Our main company is in Germany, right? I want to apply to schools there. Jack put down the soup he was serving me and looked at me with eyes full of concern. It's fine, I'll handle it. Gina, don't make yourself feel wronged. It's not about feeling wronged. I want to be with you. The joy in Jack's eyes almost overflowed. That evening, I received a transfer from Jack with an eye-popping amount. A warm current flowed through my heart. I promised myself I'd study hard, join the company in the future, and help my brother so he wouldn't have to work so hard. He contacted an agency, started preparing application materials, and related exams. The monthly school competitions came around again. The first place prize included a fixed bonus. Tom used to win first place every time. He'd always spend the prize money on Wendy and treat his friends. Everyone would suck up to Tom during the competition period. Since I stopped financial support, Tom hasn't had it easy. He hasn't been able to spend much on them either. When I occasionally ran into them, I saw they were still fawning over him like he was a king. Tom, what would you like for lunch? I have my eye on a new skin. I'll buy it when the prize money comes in. Tom waved his hand generously. Buy it. Seeing Tom being so straightforward, they all swarmed around him. Tom, I want those new sneakers. Tom, I want to eat at the new Western restaurant. Someone finally noticed me. They scoffed loudly. Isn't that Gina? Trying to get attention from Tom again? Once Tom wins first place, who cares about her? Yeah, the prize money is way more than her monthly stipend. Let's see how high she holds her head then. I just smiled and said nothing. Wendy looked at me smugly. Don't come running back when Tom wins first. Tom squinted, clearly pleased by their comments. I sometimes envy his confidence. Let's see if you win first. Tom frowned, dissatisfied, and his friend immediately chimed in. What's with the attitude? Tom wins every time. Winning the competition but failing most of your classes? Tom, you know why. Tom's face turned ugly, but he forced himself to stay calm. Is that necessary, Gina? I'll win first place again, no doubt. Fine, I'll be waiting. This time, a top 10 student from our grade won first place. Tom didn't even make it to the top 100. He and his friends stood in front of the notice board, seemingly in disbelief. The money they counted on was gone. Tom gripped his wheelchair tight. No way, this is impossible. They stormed over to the top student, loudly accusing him of cheating. The top student just pulled out his previous competition exam paper. Let's compare. Right here, right now. Tom's buddies urged him on. Tom, show him you deserve the prize. Win the money back. But Tom sat there in his wheelchair, lips tightly sealed, muttering over and over, impossible. I'm the first. The money is mine. Still unwilling to give up, they dragged the top student to the teacher's office, demanding justice. The teacher, sipping his tea slowly, didn't seem perturbed. Tom knows very well, he said, pulling out both exam papers for comparison. Tom's paper was mostly blank, with only a few formulas scattered around. The top student's paper was neat, each step clearly laid out. The results were obvious. The cronies stopped talking, and Tom turned pale. This contest was specifically organized by Jack for you, the principal said calmly, taking another sip of tea. He sponsored you in an indirect way, so you always ended up first place every time. Now that Gina is no longer sponsoring you, the contest will return to normal. No more special treatment for you. The cronies couldn't keep a straight face, and the top students laughed loudly at Tom. This is the level of the top student? Tom caught a glimpse of me standing at the door, a sliver of hope in his eyes. Gina, next time I'm still aiming for first place. You know I really need this. Seeing I wasn't moved, he bit his lip and spoke with frustration and reluctance. From now on, I can take you to tutoring sessions, giving us some alone time. I couldn't help but question if the male leads in novels just couldn't understand plain speech. Tom's eyes reflected a mix of humiliation, impatience, and disgust, all negative emotions. Tom, do you not understand human language? The contest will proceed normally. If you want first place, then earn it yourself. Stop bothering me. I've already discontinued the tutoring sessions. Anger flashed briefly on Tom's face. So, this is just some game for you rich kids? Do a few bucks let you trample on people's dignity? More familiar moral coercion. Letting you win first place also tramples on my dignity. A court summons was delivered to Wendy on the day before her birthday. Since she was still a minor, I only demanded she return the stolen items and issue a public apology. Tom reached out to me, looking much more haggard. His legs were severely swollen because he didn't want to sell his house to pay for the treatment. Gina, Tom sighed, you win. I agree to be your boyfriend. But honestly, I don't like you. So, you must continue helping me contact doctors in Germany for my treatment to compensate me. Wendy can't stay in the country because of you. She's eyeing an art school in Germany. You need to send her there. Even though I was mentally prepared, Tom's thick-skinnedness still shook me. When did I agree to let you be my boyfriend? Tom gave me a scornful look. Stop acting. Everything you've done is to force me to comply, isn't it? Tom, next time you see a doctor about your leg, fit in a brain check too, will you? I've never seen someone so shameless. I only have one goal with all this. What goal? As long as it's not too much, I'll try to meet your demands. Tom nonchalantly undid 2 buttons on his shirt. I was disgusted. In the past, it was my blindness that brought you into my life. I'm doing all this to get you out of my life. I turned to leave. Tom grabbed me. You're just stubborn. Treat it as me lending you help. Forget Wendy, you must take care of my leg, right? After all, it's tied to your future happiness. Suddenly, I felt sorry for Wendy. Tom was fundamentally a selfish man. Wendy fought for him in every matter, but he only cared about himself. Finding no success with me, Tom approached my brother, pretending to be my boyfriend. He asked my brother to loan him 10 million yuan for school and treatment. I'll marry Gina after graduation and manage the company to repay the debt. Our family's company is one of the top in the industry, where graduates from prestigious universities compete fiercely to get in. Yet he asked for a management role as a given. The loan was also expected to be at least $10 million, to cover buying a house and car. Initially, Jack remained patient. "Gina has never acknowledged you. The company will be managed by both of us in the future." Tom insisted. "I'm marrying her as she wants, so of course, I should manage the company. What can a woman do? She'll stay home as a full-time housewife to take care of me." He looked confused. Wasn't Gina most happy taking care of me? Jack promptly kicked him out. I decided, starting today, to dive into my studies, making up for my past blindness. I sincerely apologized to Jack, who patted my head. "It's my fault. I haven't spent enough time with you, so you got deceived by this kind of person." He took me on a tour of the company. There were graduates from prestigious schools like Sarah, who came from the mountains. There was Emily, a manager who bought her own car and house after divorcing an abusive husband. And many more outstanding, independent women in their positions. They were all shining brightly. Gina, a princess's mission is never salvation. A woman's life goal should never be to pin her hopes on a man, wishing he would love you and treat you well. That's not happiness. True happiness and dignity always come from yourself. You have to love yourself more than I love you and cherish yourself. Also, strive to become independent and excellent. You deserve the best, so work hard to achieve better. I nodded. I wanted to be like them, excellent and independent. In the future, people will call me boss, not Tom's wife from my past life. I became more dedicated to my studies. I often discussed problems with the top student, David, who surprisingly was my kindergarten classmate when we were little. "You said I was the best looking. Grown up, you ended up liking Tom," David often teased me. "Gina, your taste has really downgraded. There's still time for you to restore it." Busy with solving problems, I casually brushed him off. "Let's not talk about those black marks." I blocked all of Tom's contact information and focused on studying. But he started frequently appearing outside my classroom, bringing cheap gifts and thick letters. Free yogurt from the cafeteria, discarded flowers, promo stuffed toys from a tea shop. I rejected them all. Unable to bear it anymore, David stepped in to warn Tom. Tom, sitting in a wheelchair, face red, refused to admit I no longer liked him. Because this was his last chance to turn things around. "Gina, you're ignoring me because you're with this rich kid now, right?" I knew it. "You're just a gold digger. You look down on me. You've always had everything, so you don't respect the dignity of ordinary people." Before I could respond, David, arms folded, retorted, "For mice humiliation and dignity all you can talk about? Your grades are poor, and your character is worse. You're just not worthy of respect. Take back all your junk. Instead of wasting time here, why don't you think about improving your grades to earn back your ridiculous dignity?" Tom went quiet, left me with "Just you wait," and walked away. After distancing from me, Tom tried to cozy up to several rich and beautiful girls at school. His demands were bizarre. He wanted money, houses, high-end treatment, but refused to admit in public they were a couple. He also wanted them to take care of him, support him subtly. Give him a man's respect and dignity. Those girls weren't stupid. They just laughed and spread the story around. I guess it's the original author giving the male lead his confidence. He believed he didn't need to work hard, someone would surely come to save, love, and offer him everything. After Tom lost his money, Wendy had her own troubles and stopped taking care of him. He wouldn't look after himself, soon developed a bad odor. More and more people at school pointed fingers at him. David came back from a break, looking serious. He pulled me straight to the rooftop. Turns out he overheard Tom and his flunkies plotting in the bathroom. She's the only daughter in her family. If Tom conquers her, he conquers them. Exactly. With all of us helping, this girl will fall for Tom eventually after a bit of persuasion. Right. I was so envious seeing her family's Portia. Why does she have such a good life? Tom, you must seize this opportunity. David played the recording. I went pale. They wanted to drag me down. Regardless of the outcome, rumors would surely follow. They seemed convinced their plan was foolproof. David looked at me worriedly. I'll take you home today and you must tell Jack immediately. The situation was serious. My brother was furious. I quickly calmed down. Rumors can't destroy me. But they can destroy a man who cares more about his face than anything. So when Tom asked to meet, claiming Wendy wanted to apologize in person, I agreed. Wendy awkwardly came to me. I already apologized. Tom is up to no good, you'd better not go. She had shifted her focus to studying, rarely interacted with Tom anymore. She even did some part-time jobs on campus to support herself. I smiled. Don't worry. I set a trap, coordinated with the police in advance. In the karaoke room, as a female cop dressed in my clothes got pinned down, the police rushed in. They were caught red-handed. Tom had even procured illegal drugs to use on me. His cronies had cameras ready to film. The police took them to the station. Their phones had more than one incriminating video. They used these to blackmail the victimized girls. My brother hired the best lawyer in the business. Tom got a heavy sentence. Before being taken away, Tom insisted on seeing me one last time. His eyes were bloodshot, like a demon straight from hell. You ruined my life. You were supposed to love me, save me. I should have gone to study abroad, inherited a company, restored my legs, become a new tech elite. I should rule this world. It's all your fault. I'm the main character, you're the lead girl. You exist to love me. The police escort thought Tom lost his mind. But I fully understood him. Dear male lead, times have changed. Your success can no longer be built on women's sacrifices. Not now, not ever, because we've woken up. I turned to leave, hearing Tom's mad screaming behind me. In my second year of studying abroad, Tom died. His legs didn't get proper treatment, severely atrophied. He was often bullied in prison. His mental collapse left him with no will to live. Multiple complications took him away. Wendy got into college after repeating a year. David and I got together. He complained daily about my lack of time, always either studying or interning. Because I know how hard-earned all this is. Only by striving hard, standing taller and farther, do I have a chance to awaken more lead girls like me. With the wind blowing, the branches bow and rise again, the mountain's edge dims and brightens. Be the lead in your own world, rescue yourself, countless times.